My wife said she was in New York, but my brother just saw her half-naked, checking into a honeymoon suite in Hawaii with another man, using my card. She thought I'd never find out. She was dead wrong. And what I did next? It made paradise burn. The phone call that flipped my world upside down came on a day that couldn't have felt more ordinary. It was one of those Tuesdays that drags on forever, each minute stretching like taffy. I was stuck at my desk, sipping on a cup of coffee that tasted like burnt paper, eyes glazing over a spreadsheet I had already stared at more times than I could count. The ceiling fan above buzzed lazily, and my inbox blinked with messages I didn't have the energy to open. Then my phone vibrated on the desk. I glanced down and saw a name that made me do a double take. Malik. My brother. We're not the kind of siblings who call for fun. He lives all the way out in Hawaii, running one of those high-end resorts that influencers drool over. We usually just text on birthdays or shoot a Merry Christmas once a year. So a random call from him, smack in the middle of the day? Yeah, something was definitely off. I answered, already bracing for something strange. Hey, kiddo, he said, his tone relaxed like always. What's going on, Malik? I leaned back in my chair, waiting. There was a pause. Quick question, he said. Where's your wife? I blinked. She's on a business trip. In New York. My words came out slow, unsure. She left Sunday. Why? The silence stretched a little longer. You sure about that? He asked, and something in his voice changed. The easy tone was gone. He wasn't joking. My stomach twisted. Why are you asking? I said, my voice suddenly tight. He exhaled. Because I'm standing in the lobby of the resort right now, and I swear on Mom's name, your wife just checked in. With another man. Everything around me stopped. I thought I misheard him. What? I asked. She's here, Darian repeated, his voice lowered now. No shoes. Sundress. With a guy who looks like he walked off the cover of a cologne commercial. And she just used her debit card to pay for the honeymoon suite. I sat frozen, one hand still resting on my mouse. I didn't even blink. The coffee in my mouth turned to sand. My eyes stayed locked on the screen, but suddenly, none of the numbers meant anything. My jaw tightened, ears buzzing, but somehow, I kept my voice calm. You're absolutely sure it's her? No doubt, he said. I waved at her. She waved back. I rubbed my temple, trying to ease the headache pounding behind my eyes. Okay, I said slowly. Do not talk to her. Don't let her know you saw her. Darian didn't hesitate. Got it, he replied. So, what now? What do you want me to do? I didn't answer right away. My heart was going crazy in my chest, but my head, it had already gone cold. I stood up and walked over to the window, watching the wind push around the trees like nothing had changed. But everything had. My wife, 6 years married. We met at a seminar back when we were just getting started in our careers. She was sharp, confident, magnetic. The kind of woman who didn't wait around for a chance, she went out and made her own. We clicked immediately. When her student loan got denied, I stepped in and paid for her last semester of grad school. I supported her when she launched her business from scratch. I cheered for every little win like it was mine too. And now? Now she was wrapped around some guy on a beach, like none of that ever meant a thing. I gave Darian a few more quick instructions, then ended the call. I sat down, heavier than before, and opened our joint banking app. The transaction list hit me like a punch to the gut. $835 for an ocean view room. $180 for champagne brunch. $262 on a luxury couples massage. $310 for a sunset cruise on a catamaran. Over $2,450 of betrayal and every cent charged to my card. For months. Looking back, there had been signs. She started bailing on date nights. Said work was draining her. Said she was exhausted. She stopped talking, stopped engaging, always had some excuse. I didn't question it. I thought she just needed space. Turns out, I gave her space to cheat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something. But I didn't do either. I just sat there silent, stunned, letting it sink in. Because in that quiet moment, I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel rage. I felt something sharper. I was going to get even. I wasn't flying to Hawaii to make a scene. I wasn't about to barge into a hotel room and throw punches. That would be too easy. Too expected. No, I was going to stay calm. I was going to plan. And by the time she figured out what I was up to, it would be way too late. I picked up my phone and called Darian again. Keep your eyes on her, I said. Watch everything. Take pictures if you can, but don't get caught. He agreed. He always did love a bit of chaos. And for once, we were actually working together. Then I called my assistant and told her I wouldn't be in the rest of the week. I shut my laptop. I poured a whiskey, settled into the couch, and stared at the wedding photo above the fireplace. I remembered her smile that day, the way her voice cracked when she promised forever. I should have known better. People throw around forever like it means something until the next shiny thing shows up. I touched the rim of the glass to my teeth. She thought I was blind, that I'd never see through it. But she forgot who I am. I'm the guy who sees patterns, who built his life on structure. She thought she could fool me with a cheap romance in paradise. She just made the biggest mistake of her life. Because now, I was going to remind her what it feels like when the person you betrayed decides not to break, but to strike back. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in like a slow leak under the door, soaking the floor before you even realize you're drowning. That night, I sat in the dark, letting it wash over me. The only sound in the room was the ice clinking in my glass and the old fan creaking above me. I pulled the bank statements up again, scrolling through each charge like I was studying evidence in a case. Spa packages, champagne, sunset dinners that cost more than our rent used to, all paid with my name. She took what we built and turned it into a vacation fund for her fling. Still, I wasn't going to act impulsively. Not yet. I called Darian once more. "Describe the guy," I said, pouring another drink. He chuckled. Not because it was funny, but because it was too ridiculous to believe. He's tall. Looks like a magazine model. Skinny jeans and loafers on a beach, like he's scared of sand. She kissed him on the cheek, held his hand. Way too cozy to be just coworkers. I shut my eyes. Deep down, I already knew Darian was right. I had been ignoring the signs for weeks. Her messages had turned cold, clipped. No more full sentences, just short bursts, back Wednesday, or client at 3. Sometimes I'd get nothing at all. I told myself she was under pressure, that she just needed space. So I gave her space, and she used it to fly off to Hawaii. "Thanks, man," I said. "Keep an eye on her. And make sure she doesn't suspect anything." "Already on it," Darian replied. "Oh, she booked everything under your full name. Not even trying to hide it." Of course she did. After the call, I just sat there, staring into the quiet. My thoughts wandered to the way she used to wait up for me after late shifts, how she used to laugh at my worst jokes. That laughter had faded somewhere along the way. I couldn't even tell when it stopped, or maybe I just refused to see it. The thought of confronting her in person twisted my stomach. I imagined showing up at that resort, busting in, catching her red-handed. But then I pictured her reaction, the gasps, the tears, the excuses. She'd probably try to flip the script, act like I had crossed some boundary, invaded her privacy. Somehow, I'd end up looking like the bad guy. No, I needed the truth to hit her like a freight train. And not just her. Everyone. No screaming. No drama. Just receipts. Cold, hard facts. I opened our shared bank folder. The trail was obvious, every purchase glowing like a neon sign. So I started a new spreadsheet, labeled every charge by date, place, item, and cost. I needed this to be precise, surgical. And it wasn't hard to tell which ones were hers. She had a taste for the fancy stuff, candlelit dinners, imported wines, spa treatments with names that sounded like alien planets. And every cent came out of my account. That night, I felt like I was floating outside my own life, watching it all unfold like a movie I couldn't stop. I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen island, lit only by the hum of the fridge light, sketching out a plan in my head. She was going to leave Hawaii with a tan and memories. I'd make sure she came home to a legal tsunami. Next morning, I sent Darian a text. "Can you stall her tomorrow? Tell her she's been upgraded or offer some fancy beach deal. Just buy me time." He replied in seconds. "Easy. Consider it done." "What's the plan?" I typed back. "I'm done playing quiet." Then I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Tessa. We went to college together. Back then, she could hack a vending machine for a month of free snacks. Now, she was a cybersecurity expert for a law firm, freelancing on the side. I told her what I needed. She didn't even blink. "I'll send you a tracker that links to a live lock on the purchase data," she said. "Just give me access to the joint account, and I'll feed everything into a private spreadsheet." "Can you map it to GPS locations too?" I asked. She laughed. "You want time, place, and context? You got it. You'll have it by tonight." "Thanks, Tessa. I'll make it worth your time." "You already have," she said. "I love a good revenge story." When we hung up, I smiled for the first time in hours. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was about taking back control. I texted Darian again. Send me a pic. Just one. An hour later, it came through. There they were, standing by the beach bar. She had a coconut drink with a pink umbrella. Her hair was down, those overpriced sunglasses perched on her head, and her hand, it was resting on his chest. I zoomed in. She looked relaxed. Happy. No guilt in sight. That was the moment something inside me locked into place. The man I used to be, loyal, blind, maybe too forgiving, was gone. In his place stood someone focused, calculated. I saved the photo and dropped it into a folder I called Paradise Files. Then I started digging. I pulled all her recent emails and messages. She had stupidly forwarded her flight confirmation from her work address to his personal one. She was careless, and it worked in my favor. I gathered every digital receipt, every itinerary, every lie. Then I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, someone licensed to practice in Hawaii. Darian had a contact. Name was Tony. Civil litigator. Word was, she could get someone's entire legal defense with a smirk and a binder clip. I sent her the files. 30 minutes later, we were on a Zoom call. I don't just want a divorce, I told her. I want to press charges for financial misuse. And I want her served before she even leaves the island. Tony raised an eyebrow. So we're going nuclear. Damn right, I said. Send it all, she replied. I'll put together the claim. When do you fly out? I paused. Haven't booked yet. She smiled. Then you'd better move fast. Paradise won't stay quiet for long. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and stared at that beach photo one more time. She thought she was living the dream, but I was turning her dream vacation into a legal nightmare. This wasn't just about exposure anymore. I was going to destroy the illusion, publicly, legally, and with zero mess. I'd be watching every second of it unfold. Funny how betrayal changes things. Darian and I, we were never tight growing up. Just two kids in the same house who ended up on different paths. He liked sunshine and salt air. I liked spreadsheets and silence. He chased waves in Hawaii. I built order and security here at home. We didn't fight. We just didn't click. Not until now. Betrayal has a way of shifting the lines between enemy and ally. 2 days after that first call, I found myself parked near a cliffside just outside the city. One of those places where people go to think, or to scream when they're alone. The ocean stretched out in front of me, cold and gray. My phone glowed in my hand. All right, Darian said on the other end. Here's what I got. He'd gone full private eye. That level of effort? That comes from blood. Reservations under your name, he started. 6 nights in the honeymoon suite. Booked through your card. All-inclusive, champagne, turn down, the works. I closed my eyes. Send the documents. They're already in your inbox, he said. I also pulled some camera footage, wide angles. Nothing invasive, but enough to prove they're not business partners. You sure about that? I asked, jaw clenched so tight it could have cracked glass. Trust me, Darian said, his voice flat. They're not talking shop. They're kissing by the pool bar, arms wrapped around each other. Last night, I even saw them slow dancing at the luau. A knot twisted hard in my gut. She say anything to you? I asked, wondering if she had the nerve to lie straight to his face. Nope. Just smiled like everything was perfectly normal. Didn't even blink when I said, hey? Told me she was just blowing off some work stress. He played it cool. I had to give him that. What about the guy? I asked. What's his story? Darian let out a breath. Name's Colin. Talked to a couple staff members who poked around for me. He's some marketing guy from California. Probably mid-30s. Gym rat. Walks around like he's doing the world a favor just by showing up. Of course, I muttered. Straight out of the cliché factory. You want me to dig deeper? He asked. No need, I said. I've got someone else handling that. That someone was Tessa. She'd already sent me a Google sheet that looked like it belonged in a crime lab. Color-coded, sorted, time-stamped. Every single chart Savannah made using our joint account since stepping foot on the island. With GPS coordinates to match. It read like a travel guide to betrayal, and every line had my name on it. I needed to go beyond the emotional wreckage. I needed something that would stick in court. So I rang up Tessa again. Hey, she said, picking up on the second ring. Check out row 35. I opened the file. Item, boutique jewelry set. Amount, $825. Note, gift wrapped. Tag read, to my future, and the handwriting? Confirmed. It was hers. I gripped the phone like it might snap in my hand. She used my card to buy him jewelry. Tessa stayed quiet on the other end. She didn't have to say a thing. Keep tracking, I said. I want a timeline. Every penny. I want to know what they touched, where they ate, what they wore. Everything. You're getting a little scary, she said, half joking, half serious. No, I told her. I'm getting smart. After we hung up, I got Tony back on the phone, the lawyer Darian had connected me with. Sharp as hell, didn't flinch at anything I threw her way. I've reviewed everything you sent, she said on our second call. There's a clear path here. Fraudulent use of joint funds, emotional distress, and intentional misrepresentation. If you're serious, we can file and serve her before she checks out of the resort. Do it, I said without hesitation. There's a chance this becomes public, she warned. I'm past caring. That night, Darian sent over video clips. I opened the first one, soft resort music drifting in the background, one of those live acoustic sets they always have at beach bars. The camera angle caught Savannah and Colin swaying under string lights, his hands around her waist. She leaned in and whispered something. He laughed. Then she kissed him, right there, on the dance floor. The same floor where I once held her close during a retreat Darian hosted 3 years back. Back when she still reached for my hand in front of strangers. Back when I still mattered to her. I closed the video not out of pain, out of clarity. The fog was gone. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was contract termination. She'd turned our marriage into a business deal, so I'd treat the fallout like a corporate takedown. Later, I called Darian to check in again. I need access to her suite, I said. Not to steal anything. Just intel. He hesitated. That's a gray line, man. She used my name, my money, and booked under my account. I have a right to see what's happening under my roof. I might have a guy, he said. Milo. Been with me 6 years. Quiet. Loyal. I trust him. Good. Send him in. Nothing taken, just eyes. Got it. With the plan tightening, I started assembling a master doc I called Operation Island Exit. It had everything. Bank statements, screenshots, timelines, emails, videos from Malik, the spreadsheet Tessa built, and Tony's drafted legal filing. All packed neatly into a single folder, saved on an encrypted drive. The evidence? Rock solid. The betrayal? Unmistakable. And yet, I still hadn't said a word to her. No warning. No confrontation. That silence? It was the most powerful part. Because there's something cold and brilliant about watching someone dance deeper into the fire, thinking they're standing in sunlight. They sip champagne, snap beach selfies, smile in mirrors. All the while, the floor beneath them is turning to ash. By the time the week ended, she wouldn't be walking on sand. She'd be facing a courtroom, setting the stage. There's something so damn satisfying about watching a liar smile, not realizing the trap is closing. And this one? It came with an ocean breeze and bottomless mimosas. I touched down in Honolulu just before noon on Friday. One carry-on, dark sunglasses, hotel booked under the name Mr. Storm, a dumb alias I used back in fantasy football. The irony stung a little. That name still had value. My marriage didn't. I didn't stay at Malik's resort. Would have been reckless. Instead, I booked into a small, discreet eco-hotel just a few blocks away. One of those boutique places where nobody asks questions as long as you tip well and don't cause a scene. I kept a low profile. No calls in public. No outbursts. Just strategy. Later that evening, Darian met me at a small cafe near the marina. He looked like just another tourist, flip-flops, linen shirt, tan skin, casual vibe. Me? I still hadn't changed out of my travel clothes. I wasn't here to unwind. She's still playing the role, Darian said, sipping a drink. Booked a couple's kayak tour for tomorrow, followed by a spa session. With him. He nodded. Of course. She's using your card like it's fake Monopoly money. She doesn't suspect a thing? Not even a flicker, he said. She's floating. I leaned back, watching the sun dip into the water. The reflections danced like liquid fire. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like the clock ticking down to impact. All right, I said. Let's move forward. Introduce me to your attorney friend. The next morning, Darian set up a quiet sit-down with Lucas Navarro, the civil attorney whose office sat high above the shoreline near Diamond Head. She greeted me with a firm handshake and a presence that said she didn't just win cases, she finished them. I've gone over your documents, she said, flipping through the thick folder I brought. You've got more than enough to proceed. We're talking financial misconduct, misuse of shared funds, emotional harm. I can move forward immediately. Even better, Tony said. We can file everything right here in Hawaii. But if you want to make it sting, we wait. Hit her when she's at the peak of her fantasy. Let her think the world is hers, and then pull the rug out. I nodded slowly. Let her feel untouchable, then remind her she's not. Tony smirked. You're my kind of client. That afternoon, I went back to my hotel and opened the latest update Tessa had sent me. The spreadsheet had grown. More dinners, more jewelry, even a private snorkel tour. One line stopped me cold. Lover's Cove picnic basket premium. That one hit different. Not because of the price tag, but because it was our thing. 2 years ago, she'd planned that exact same picnic. Her idea. Now she was handing it off to some other guy like it was just a reusable date idea. Romantic plagiarism. I shut the laptop and called Malik. It's time for the next move, I said. The card switch, he asked. Yeah. You think Noah can handle it? Noah was Malik's right hand, the kind of guy who could disappear in a crowd and fix a car engine with a paperclip. Darian once told me Noah rigged a backup generator with duct tape during a hurricane. If anyone could pull this off without leaving a trace, it was him. I'll brief him tonight, Darian said. We'll move tomorrow morning when she comes down for breakfast. Make sure he's fast. Quiet. No hiccups. The plan was clean. Darian would create a fake billing issue at the front desk, something requiring Savannah's attention, like a security hold on the room. While she was down dealing with that, Noah would slip into the suite, swap a real ATM card with an identical dummy, and leave everything else untouched. When she tried to use it later, dead plastic. Her fantasy trip would start crumbling, one swipe at a time. By morning, the wheels were turning. At 10:04 a.m., Darian called me. His voice was low. She's at the front desk, flashing the polite smile. Meanwhile, Noah's already been in and out. Like a damn ghost. I grinned. Perfect. By that afternoon, Tessa messaged me. No activity on the real card since 10:13 a.m. Looks like the decoy's doing its job. That was the moment everything shifted. I pictured her at some beachfront boutique, designer sunglasses in one hand, the other fumbling her wallet. The cashier swipes. Declined. Again. Still declined. Confusion. Embarrassment. Panic blooming behind her eyes. Darian texted me. She tried to buy a gold chain at the jewelry shop in Waikiki. Card failed. Tried again. Nothing. Colin looked lost. She looked furious. Now she's back at the resort pacing. On the phone with someone. Probably the bank. Or maybe you. I laughed. Let her call. I didn't answer. Wasn't time yet. She needed to sit in that discomfort a little longer. Instead, I took a piece of crisp white paper, wrote a single sentence on it, and sealed it in an envelope. I added a printed screenshot, the clearest one, of her kissing Colin on the beach. That shot said everything words couldn't. The note inside read, Smile. You're not on vacation anymore. I handed it to Darian later that evening in the hotel lobby. Give this to her tomorrow morning. In person. Say it's from a private guest. Then walk away. He turned the envelope over in his hands, eyebrows raised. She's gonna flip. That's the idea. That night, back in my room, I stood at the window, watching the waves slam into the shore. Just 1 week ago, I was the fool, tired, clueless, still trying to hold together something that was already ashes. Now, I wasn't fixing anything. I was branding the ruins. Next morning, my phone buzzed. Malik's voice was full of barely contained laughter. She opened it in the breakfast lounge. Went pale like someone knocked the wind out of her. Colin asked what it was. She told him nothing. Then she stormed off. I sipped my coffee, smiling as the sun rose outside my window. Good, I said. She's gonna blow soon, Darian added. No, I said, calm as ever. She already has. She just doesn't know it yet. I ended the call. Drained the last of my coffee. Zipped my suitcase. It was time to head home. Not because I was done. Because the real show was about to begin. And she still didn't know the cameras were rolling. The card switch it left behind a specific kind of silence. Not empty, not peaceful. It was the kind of silence right before thunder hits. The kind that fills a courtroom before a verdict is read out loud. That was the silence I sat in the next morning. Waiting. At 11:03 a.m., my phone lit up. Her name on the screen. Calling. I didn't move. I let it ring. Then again. And again. I flipped the phone face down. Let it buzz. My hands were steady. Breathing calm. I had imagined this part, the unraveling, but it was nothing compared to feeling it happen in real time. 6 more calls. I ignored them all. Meanwhile, Tessa kept feeding me real-time updates from the account. 12:12 p.m. Declined again. This time, it was at a beachside cafe. 3 swipes. All dead. The beautiful thing about revenge done right? It's not explosive. It doesn't shout. It whispers truth, not rage, into all the little cracks lies had filled. That's what this card swap was. Not some big movie stunt. Just clarity, one denial at a time. Darian texted me around 2 o'clock. She's asking everyone at the desk why her card isn't working. Thinks it's a hotel mistake. Let her think that, I replied. I could just picture it, her, flustered in her overpriced sundress, still trying to keep her cool. And Colin, arms folded, watching it all unfold. Probably starting to wonder who she really was. Did he know the suite they were staying in was booked under my name? Did he notice that every single receipt she signed was stamped with a last name she said she hated? But the best part hadn't even happened yet. I had prepared a second envelope, heavier this time, full of facts. Inside, a printed bank statement with every charge from their trip, all highlighted. Tessa's spreadsheet, itemized, dated, and priced. The room reservation, under my name. A divorce petition, drafted and signed by Tony. And a neatly labeled USB drive. On that drive, every video Darian captured. Them dancing under tiki lights, kissing by the bar, laughing like it was a honeymoon. All time-stamped, all high-def, all undeniable. This wasn't just evidence. It was a story. A full timeline of betrayal, neat, brutal, undeniable. All wrapped in cold, hard facts. And it was about to land directly in her hands. That night, I made one last call to Malik. "You sure you want to go through with this?" he asked, though we both already knew the answer. "She took a vacation with another man on my dime," I said flatly. "She can handle a wake-up call." The next morning, Darian walked up to her in the hotel lobby, just like we planned. "Mrs. Blake," he greeted her, same as before. I actually laughed when he told me that. She didn't even correct him. She was so deep into the role she forgot it was a performance. "A guest asked me to give you this," he added, handing over the envelope. She took it without a second thought. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize, but I already knew who it was. I let it ring. Then Darian called. "She opened it in the suite," he said. I couldn't see it, but one of the housekeeping staff said something got thrown against the wall. She started yelling. Loud. "And Colin?" I asked. "Gone," Darian said. Walked out 10 minutes after. Looked like he'd been slapped. Did she go after him? Nope. She slammed the door. He headed to the pool bar alone. Ordered tequila. At 10 in the morning. Poetic. I pictured him standing there in his floral button-up, staring at the ocean, starting to realize he wasn't the leading man. He was just a background actor in someone else's lie. All that talk of freedom, love, adventure, built on stolen money and a borrowed name. Later that evening, I got the call from Tony. "She's been officially served," she said. "Divorce papers. Financial claim. Evidence packet. We have confirmed delivery and signature. She knows." "And the lawsuit?" I asked. "Filed. It'll follow her home. Based on the footage and your financial records, this case is airtight." I thanked her and hung up. That night, I didn't celebrate. No drinks. No victory lap. No texts to friends. I just stood out on the balcony, looking over the shoreline, listening to the waves roll in. Soft and steady like they didn't care what kind of week I'd had. 6 years of marriage. Dozens of sacrifices. Late nights where I stayed up helping her prep for investor calls. Quiet evenings where she'd curl up beside me, trusting I'd keep the world away. And she burned it all. For a guy who couldn't even pay for his own drinks. Somewhere in another suite, she was probably pacing, frantically dialing banks, lawyers, anyone who might help untangle the mess. But none of them could fix this. Because the one person who actually would have fought for her was the one she betrayed. She mistook kindness for weakness. And when she decided to treat our marriage like a game, she forgot the most important rule. I never play to lose. And now, I was the one writing the rules. By sunrise, she was gone. Darian texted me. She checked out early. No goodbyes. Didn't speak to anyone. Colin's gone too. Good, I replied. That afternoon, I boarded my flight home. No upgrades. No luxury. Just a middle seat by the window. And peace. I didn't need champagne or reclining chairs. I just needed that silence. The kind that sinks in when the hardest part is behind you. There were still things ahead, court hearings, property splits, legal paperwork. But the power had already shifted. She had seen what truth looked like. She had felt what it was like to lose control, to be exposed, to realize the man she thought was a fool was the one with the final move. The panic call came the next morning, 5:24 a.m. I had gotten in late the night before, dropped my bag by the door, walked straight into the shower without switching on a single light. Just needed to wash off Hawaii, the salt air, the lies, the memory of it all. My suitcase was still by the wall. My phone sat on silent, glowing quietly on the nightstand. Her name lit up the screen. I let it ring. Then again. And again. 9 calls in under 20 minutes. Finally, I answered. I didn't say a word. I let the silence do the talking. "Hello?" she said, her voice small, cracked. I stayed quiet. "Where are you?" she asked, panic laced behind the words. Finally, I spoke. Calm. Even. Like I was discussing a business deal. She paused. I could hear doors closing in the background, her footsteps echoing like she was pacing in circles. You're home," she stammered. "Why? What's going on?" She was trying to piece it together, but none of the lines she had rehearsed fit the shape of what was happening. "Why isn't my card working?" she demanded, her voice rising now. "It got declined everywhere yesterday. I called the bank. They said the account's frozen." "Did you do something?" she asked. "Did I do something?" I repeated, my tone flat as stone. "That's rich." "Listen," she jumped in, speeding up. "This whole thing, I know how it looks, but it's not what you think." "Don't." I cut her off. She stopped. I stood at my window, watching the neighborhood come to life. Sprinklers ticked on. Joggers passed with earbuds in. Nobody around me had any idea that a 6-year marriage was being disassembled over speakerphone. "You told me you were in New York," I said. "You kissed me goodbye and said you were meeting a client uptown." "I was," she lied. "No," I said. "You were in Hawaii. At my brother's resort. With another man." She inhaled sharply. "And you used my card," I added. "Every cocktail, every massage, every dinner, every room. All booked under my name. You laid in bed with someone else in a suite I paid for." "Wait," she said, stumbling. It's not like that. Don't lie again," I warned. "Real. I wasn't trying to hurt you," she snapped, desperation breaking through. "It was a mistake. It just happened." "No," I said. "You planned the trip. You bought the flights. You sent the itinerary. And you paid for all of it with my money. That's not a mistake. That's a decision." I let that sit. She didn't say a word. "You don't understand," she whispered eventually. "I've been feeling lost, alone. You've been distant. Always working." "Stop," I said sharply. "Don't blame my job. Don't act like being lonely gives you permission to betray someone. You could have talked to me. You should have said something wasn't right. But instead, you packed your things, smiled in my face, and flew to paradise to play pretend with a stranger." There was nothing left for her to say, and she knew it. Her voice cracked. "Please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Everything just got complicated. I was confused." "You weren't confused when you booked a luxury suite," I said flatly. "You weren't confused when you bought him jewelry. With my card." She gasped. How do you know that?" "I know everything," I said, calm as stone. "Every transaction. Every place. Every second of footage. Every single lie." Silence. "You really thought you'd get away with this?" I asked. "You thought I'd just sit here while you drained our account and played house with someone else on a beach?" She stammered. "I needed something different. I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear, I still love you." I almost laughed. "No, Savannah," I said quietly. "You love what I gave you. The comfort. The money. The lifestyle. You loved the version of me that had no idea what you were doing behind my back." She started crying softly. I didn't say a word. I didn't reach for comfort. I let her sit in it. "I don't know what to do," she whispered between sobs. "I made a mistake. You'll get a package by 9 a.m., I said. "What?" "In your suite," I continued. "Courtesy of the hotel manager. Open it. Read everything inside. Then pack your things. You're flying home alone." She sniffled. "What's in it?" "Reality," I replied. "Something you've been dodging for a while." "I can fix this," she begged. "Please. I know I messed up, but I'll do anything. Just tell me how to make this right." "You can't," I said, "because this isn't about the hurt anymore. This is about the choice you made when you thought I wasn't looking." "But I didn't mean to fall for him," she whispered. There it was. The real truth. I didn't even flinch. "Really?" I said. "You chose him. You bought the tickets. You packed the bags. You slept beside him. You used my money to build a fantasy. That's not a mistake. That's effort. That's intent." Silence. Then came the smallest voice I'd ever heard from her. "I'm scared." You should be. The line went still. I could hear her breathing, shallow and shaky. Maybe she thought I'd forgive her. Maybe she believed I'd cave, say something comforting, invite her home. But I had already made peace with the truth, and she didn't belong in it. I have to go, I said. Wait. I hung up, and then I stood in the silence of my house for a long time. The place felt different, lighter, as if the walls themselves had finally stopped holding their breath. I walked downstairs, made myself a fresh cup of coffee, and took it out to the porch. The sky was warming to gold. Birds sang from the trees. The neighborhood was still sleepy. For the first time in a long time, I felt still. No more guessing. No more pretending. Just truth. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge through chaos. I only needed her to see the cost of her own lies. And soon, when she opened that package, she'd understand exactly what pretending cost her. The envelope of consequences. The sun rose over Honolulu, just like it always did, soft, golden, full of promise. But for Savannah, this wasn't just another beach morning. This was the moment her world collapsed. I imagined her stirring in that suite. The ocean breeze slipping through the curtains. The hush of waves outside the balcony doors. Maybe, for a second, she even thought it had all been a dream. Maybe she reached over for Colin. Maybe she still hoped there was some way out of this. But dreams don't come with paperwork. At exactly 9 a.m., Darian did his part. He walked up to her suite, knocked twice, and handed her a second envelope. This one was thicker. He didn't speak, just gave her a polite smile, turned, and walked away. Inside that envelope? Everything. The divorce petition, printed on crisp, white legal paper, my name, her name, Tony's firm logo at the top. It listed every violation, every act of financial betrayal. No fluff, just cold, legal fact. There was also a restraining order. It revoked her access to all joint accounts, our shared home, the vehicles, and every business we'd built together. Tony's team had already frozen everything. She now had access to nothing. And then there was the spreadsheet Tessa's masterpiece. Color-coded, time-stamped, dollar by dollar. Every swipe of my card. Every glass of champagne. Every boutique she stepped into. Line after line. Nail after nail. But the final blow? A small, black USB drive. Neatly labeled. Inside were 4 separate clips, each marked with a date and timestamp from Malik's security system. There was no grainy footage. No fuzzy angles. No deniability. The kiss under the tiki lights. His hand on her thigh by the pool. The giggling as she leaned against him at the luau. Her resting her head on his shoulder as they walked back to the suite at night. Everything. Clear. Sharp. Unforgiving. And Colin? He was right there with her in every shot. That was the part she hadn't considered. She'd once told me he worked for a conservative firm in San Diego. Big on public image. Known to fire employees for office romances, let alone scandals caught on tape. She never thought I'd find out. She never thought Darian would have footage. And she definitely never thought I'd be the one holding all the cards. Because this wasn't about love anymore. This was about dignity. About drawing the line. About saying, I saw what you did, and I will not carry it for you. About 30 minutes after the delivery, Darian called. You're not going to believe this, he said, half laughing. Try me, I said. She stormed down into the lobby, holding the envelope like it was radioactive. Demanded to speak to the manager. Then she asked for you. You. Yep. I met her outside. She started yelling, accused me of working with you. Said it was an invasion of privacy. And I asked. I let her rant, Darian said. I didn't flinch. Just stood there. Then Colin came out. He looked wrecked. I think he saw the footage. I leaned back in my chair. He knows. Oh, he knows, Darian replied. His face said it all. Wasn't angry. Wasn't defensive. Just scared. Good. They started arguing right there in the courtyard. She kept saying they could fix it. He said something about needing a lawyer. Then he just left. Walked out. Didn't even wait for her. That didn't surprise me. She had traded 6 years of loyalty for 6 days of illusion. And now? She was left holding an envelope full of truths and a name nobody wanted to be attached to. Later that day, I got an email from Tony's assistant. Everything was officially in motion. The claims were filed. The documentation was signed, notarized, and confirmed. The divorce was pending trial, and the financial misconduct claim had legal weight behind it. And as a bonus, I finally did something I'd been meaning to do for years. I took back the business I helped her build. She never paid attention to the details when we set up the LLC. She was too focused on branding and launch parties. But I had protected myself. 60% equity, majority control, written in for exactly this kind of storm. At the time, it was just a precaution. Now it felt like a shield. That evening, I sent a formal notice to her work email. Effective immediately, Savannah was removed. No longer CEO, no longer a partner, no longer attached to anything I built. The final blow came not from me, but from the shadows. Darian called. Colin's company just got a copy of the footage. I blinked. I didn't send anything. I know, he said, but someone did. Labeled the email. Thought your HR team should see this. I didn't have to ask. Tessa always knew how to time a twist. By nightfall, the fallout had gone nuclear. While the world unraveled around her, I sat quietly, reading a book I'd been meaning to finish for months, something about rebuilding after disaster. I understood it better now. My phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. A message. Please. Can we talk? Just once. Please. I didn't reply. What was left to say? She poured gasoline on her life and struck a match, convinced I wouldn't smell the smoke. Now she was the one coughing in the ashes. She lied to my face, spent my money, slept with another man under my brother's roof, and thought a few tears could rewind it all. Not this time. I stepped out onto the balcony and took in the quiet. The cool night breeze filled my lungs like peace. There was no need for revenge anymore. I had already won. Not by shouting, not by fists. I won with silence, strategy, and the kind of truth you can't outrun. Let them call me cold. Let them say I overreacted. She tried to erase me from the story we built. But I held the pen. She just got edited out. When I got off the plane back home, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel bitter. I felt quiet, like the dust had finally settled. I wasn't walking into a battlefield. I was walking into clarity. The man who left a week ago wasn't the one stepping through this door now. I walked inside slowly. Everything was just as I left it. Shoes lined up near the wall. The vase of dried lavender still in the center of the table. But the air felt different. The house wasn't ours anymore. It was mine. Fully. Finally. Before I unpacked, I got to work. First, I changed the locks. The locksmith didn't ask questions. He came in, did his job, handed me a new set of keys, and left. With that small click, the past was bolted shut. Next, I finalized the financial separation. The accounts had been frozen by Tony's team, but I took it a step further. I made it permanent. Closed loopholes. Set up new accounts. Every cent was accounted for. Every dollar protected. Then I turned to the house. Not the furniture. Not the memories. Just her. Everything Savannah left behind. Clothes, makeup, books, her yoga mat, her favorite coffee mug. I packed it all. Each item went into a labeled bin. Neatly organized. Sealed. Stacked in the garage. I didn't throw any of it away. That would have been too emotional. Instead, I left a note on top. Collected. Categorized. Claimed. You can coordinate pickup through your attorney. She didn't need to set foot in this house again. She had already dragged enough mud across the floor of my trust. 3 days later, the doorbell rang. A courier stood there, holding a thick envelope. Her legal team's response. She wasn't fighting the divorce. Not directly. Not yet. But the tone was clear. Delay, stall, buy time. Too late. The next morning, Darian texted me. She's leaving today. Flying solo. No Colin. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. But I knew the storm that had started in Hawaii was headed here. Sure enough, by mid-afternoon, there she was. Standing on the front porch like she had simply come home. She wore sunglasses. Her hair was pulled into that same tight ponytail she had in the beach photos. The same duffel bag slung over her shoulder like she had just gone on a weekend trip. She rang the doorbell. Twice. I watched her from the upstairs hallway, eyes on the monitor. I didn't move right away. I wanted her to feel it, the unfamiliar weight at what used to be her door. Then I pressed the intercom. Savannah? I said calmly. She looked around, startled. Can you open the door? This property is no longer shared, I said. You'll get further instructions through your attorney. Her face shifted fast, shock to confusion to anger. Wait, what? Are you serious right now? I flew back to fix this. You flew back alone, I said. That was your first clue. She stepped closer. Please, just let me in. We need to talk. There's nothing left to say. Come on. You said you needed space. And you took it. I cut in. In Hawaii. With another man. That was a mistake. No, I said. That was a pattern. I paused. You broke this, Savannah. Not just once. Not with just one kiss. You made a choice every single day you were on that trip. And now you're facing the cost. She was trembling now. People make mistakes. People do, I nodded. But not everyone betrays the person who gave them everything. The silence that followed felt heavy. Final. Her voice broke. The neighbors are staring. I looked down. Sure enough, across the street, Mrs. Callahan had frozen mid-sprinkler. A jogger slowed with his dog. Even the mailman paused halfway to his van. I'm not the one who should be embarrassed, I said. You made this public the moment you tried to hide it. Her lips quivered. You really hate me now, don't you? No, I said. Hate takes too much energy. And I'm done giving you mine. I ended the intercom call. She stood there another 30 seconds, then turned, walked to the waiting Uber, and left without looking back. That evening, her parents called. For a moment, I thought about letting it go to voicemail. But curiosity got the better of me. Hello, I said. There was a pause on the other end, the kind filled with things people aren't sure how to say. Hi, her mother finally answered. Her voice was tight, controlled, like she was trying not to let too much emotion leak through. We heard what happened. We just wanted to hear your side. You want my side? I asked. Yes, her father chimed in. He sounded upset. She says, it wasn't what it looked like. It never is, I replied calmly. But she went to Hawaii with another man. She used my bank card. She booked the suite under my name. She lied to all of us. If you're looking for someone to feel sorry for, I'm not him. There was a long silence. We're sorry, her mother whispered eventually. We didn't know. No, I said. You just never asked. Then I ended the call. I didn't owe them closure. Not after they spent 6 years glossing over the cracks and calling them charm. Not after they watched her wear deceit like lipstick and told me it was just stress. That night, I sat on the back patio with a glass of water and watched the sky shift from orange to deep purple. The same sky we used to sit under together, watching dumb sitcoms through the window, talking about what our future might look like. Now I sat under it alone. And for the first time, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. The house no longer buzzed with tension. No more walking on eggshells. No more paused phone calls when I entered the room. No more texts she flipped face down with that fake smile. Just silence. And honest silence, it's the loudest kind of peace. I walked back inside. Past the garage. Past the labeled bins. Closed the door behind me. She had come home thinking words could fix what actions had shattered. But some bridges burned too clean. There's nothing left to walk across. The final confrontation. A month later, I stood outside courtroom 4B, dressed in a charcoal gray suit, holding nothing but a leather folder. The hallway buzzed with movement, shuffling shoes, murmured voices, the occasional stern quiet, pleas from a bailiff. But to me, it all sounded distant. I stood by the bench, waiting. She arrived 5 minutes late. She didn't look anything like the woman who stepped off a Hawaiian beach in a sundress and stolen smiles. Today, she wore a navy skirt suit, hair pulled back tight. Her face looked tired, not from lack of sleep, from carrying the weight of what she had done. Beside her was an attorney who looked like he billed $600 an hour just to breathe. Sharp suit, sharper smirk. The kind of guy who thinks every courtroom is his playground. She didn't make eye contact. I didn't care. Tony stood beside me, calm, composed, flipping through documents like she already knew how this would end. When our case was called, we stepped into the courtroom and sat at separate tables. No shared glances. No silent conversations. We weren't spouses anymore. We were two names on opposite sides of a file. The judge was a woman in her 50s, hair pulled back, eyes like steel, known for having no patience for drama. Exactly what I wanted. Tony opened the proceedings with precision, no emotion, no theatrics. Just facts. Your Honor, she said, we are here today on grounds of financial misconduct, marital betrayal, and fraudulent use of shared assets. She laid out the evidence like a surgeon: bank statements, purchase history, booking confirmations, and sealed video footage. Each piece labeled, timed, dated. Her attorney stood and tried the emotional route. Your Honor, he said, my client admits she made mistakes. But this wasn't premeditated. This wasn't malicious. It was emotional distress. She felt neglected. Alone. Savannah lowered her eyes like the words weighed too much for her to carry. The judge didn't blink. Tony rose again. Feeling neglected does not give someone the right to impersonate their spouse financially, she said. This wasn't an impulsive act. We have records showing travel was planned in advance, gifts were purchased using his card, and behavior sustained over a 5-day romantic trip. The judge nodded slowly, flipping through the paperwork. Then she looked at Savannah. Mrs. Blake, do you deny traveling to Hawaii with another man using your husband's financial information? Savannah's voice was barely audible. No, Your Honor. Do you deny that the room, the meals, and the purchases were all charged to his account without his consent? No, Your Honor. Do you deny misrepresenting yourself as unmarried in documents submitted to the resort and tour companies? Her lawyer tried to step in. The judge raised her hand. I want to hear it from her. Savannah hesitated. Then, finally, I don't deny it. The judge nodded. Tony handed over my written statement. The judge read it in silence, page by page. Then she looked at me. Would you like to say anything? I stood, buttoned my jacket, walked to the platform, not once looking at Savannah. My name is, I began, voice steady, and I was married for 6 years to someone I thought I knew. I took a breath. I supported her through school, paid her debts, helped launch her business. I built our life brick by brick, and she took a sledgehammer to it and called it self-care. A few people shifted in their seats. She lied. She planned. She stole. She called a romantic getaway a business trip. Bought jewelry for another man while pretending to still be my wife. That's not a mistake. That's abandonment wrapped in fraud. I paused. And when the fantasy crumbled, she didn't come clean. She came unglued. Not because she regretted it, because she got caught. Then I looked at her. Just once. You had 6 years to fight for us, I said quietly. And you chose 5 days with someone else. I stepped back, nodded, sat down. The courtroom fell silent. The judge removed her glasses, looked through the file again. Her voice was firm. The court finds the evidence overwhelmingly in favor of the petitioner. She looked up. The divorce is granted, effective immediately. The petitioner will retain full ownership of the house, all financial accounts, and the business assets. The respondent is ordered to repay $7,200 in misused funds. Her attorney tried to argue for reduced repayment. The judge cut him off. This isn't a trial for emotional validation. This is law. Fraud has consequences. Savannah didn't speak, just sat there, shoulders slumped. Outside, I waited by the elevator for Tony. She had stepped out to take a quick call. I had one last form to sign. Eventually, Savannah approached. Alone. She looked worn out. Not tired, just unraveling. Can I say something? She asked softly. You already did, I said. In court. She frowned. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I turned toward her. And that, I said, is the problem. You never meant for anything, I said, voice steady. You just let it happen. Over and over, until there was no way to hide it anymore. I was confused, she offered, barely above a whisper. No, I corrected. You were dishonest. She looked down. Her voice grew even smaller. I thought maybe, after some time. There is no after, Savannah. Her eyes lifted to mine, wet and uncertain. Did you ever love me? I didn't flinch. I did, I said simply. Completely. And you turned it into paperwork. She blinked fast, her face tightening with emotion. I didn't reach out. That part of me was gone. She opened her mouth to say something else, but just then, the elevator chimed. Tony stepped off with a file in hand. She handed me the signed copy. It was done. I walked out without looking back. That evening, I opened a bottle of wine, stepped onto my balcony, and let the wind roll over me. The air felt different, lighter somehow. Somewhere down the line, Savannah would rewrite the story. Maybe for her friends. Maybe for a new man. Maybe even for herself. But I didn't care. Because my version, the one built on truth, on facts, on the quiet power of walking away, was finished. No slamming doors. No shouting. Just the soft sound of a life realigning. And the knowledge that what she tried to tear down, I had already rebuilt. Stronger. Wiser. Mine. Peace doesn't arrive with confetti. It doesn't announce itself at your front door. It doesn't scream, you made it. It moves in like a breeze through an open window. Slow. Soft. Subtle. And that's exactly how I felt waking up in my new apartment for the first time. Sunlight cut through the blinds, casting long golden lines across the hardwood floor. And at the foot of my bed, snoring like he owned the place, was Milo. Yeah, I got a dog. A scruffy little mutt with too much attitude and a thing for barking at mirrors. Total rescue. Total chaos. But he made the place feel real. Alive. I wasn't just existing anymore. I was healing. The apartment was small, one bedroom, one office, open kitchen. But every inch was mine. Every item had a purpose. The pictures on the wall? Family, friends, moments that made me smile without needing a filter. No wedding photos. No forced grins. No performance. Just me. Honest. Whole. A few weeks after the hearing, I sold the house. The one the court awarded to me. I could have kept it. I earned it. But I didn't want to live in a museum of memories, frozen in betrayal. I sold it to a newlywed couple full of hope, talking about breakfast nooks and nursery paint. I let them have it. Let them fill it with beginnings instead of echoes. Savannah didn't contest the sale. She didn't say much of anything after the ruling. And me? I got back to living. I started biking again, just like I used to before I met her. Wind in my face. No destination. No schedule. Just trails and peace. I found new coffee shops. Met neighbors. Took a Thursday night cooking class. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't shaping my life around someone else's preferences. I didn't stalk her social media. Didn't check to see who she was with or what lie she was spinning. That chapter was done, and I wasn't rereading the ending. Darian and I talk more now. The chaos brought us closer than years of holidays ever did. We laugh now about the parts that once hurt. You should have seen her face when the envelope landed, he said once, half laughing. Like someone handed her a live grenade. He came to visit a few weeks later. We had dinner on a rooftop downtown. No tension. No rush. Just two brothers, stronger than before. You've changed, he said, sipping his beer. Better or worse? Better, he said. You look lighter. Like you're finally breathing. Feels that way too. I nodded. Then there was Tony. What started as strictly business turned into something quietly different. We stayed in touch. At first, it was just case updates. Then it became conversations. Then it became connection. One night, we met for drinks, low-key bar downtown. She looked different out of court. Softer. Warmer. The sharp edges still there, but with a quiet calm beneath them. She asked how I was. Not out of politeness. Out of genuine care. I'm learning to be selfish again, I told her. She smiled. Good. You earned that. By the end of the night, I realized I hadn't thought about Savannah once. Not her lies. Not her voice. Not the beach. Just me. And the woman across from me, sipping wine, laughing, real, unfiltered, simple. It didn't become something instantly. I didn't rush it. I let it unfold the way healing should. Slow, steady, respectful. Maybe it becomes something more. Maybe it doesn't. But I was okay with that. For once, I was okay with uncertainty. One Saturday morning, I visited the park where Savannah and I used to sit on good days, where the city skyline peeked just behind the trees. I sat alone on the bench, watching leaves swirl along the path, and I thought about it all. Everything she took, and everything I took back. She took my trust. I reclaimed it through boundaries. She took my finances. I rebuilt with intention. She took my dignity. I answered her betrayal with grace. Not with revenge. With restraint. People say revenge is best served cold. But they're wrong. The best revenge is a life so full, so peaceful, so unbothered, that the person who tried to ruin you ends up haunted by how little they mattered in the end. Savannah called once. Weeks after the court ruling. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. You were part of my good karma streak, she said, laughing softly. Helping you gave me purpose again. I told Tony about it later. You saved me, I said. She shook her head. No, she said. You saved yourself. I just handed you the flashlight. And I carried that line with me for a long time. Because she was right. I could have chosen anger. I could have scorched the earth. Instead, I chose clarity. I chose spreadsheets over shouting. Courtrooms over chaos. Strategy over screaming. And I didn't just survive the betrayal. I rebuilt through it. Now when people ask what happened, I don't list the lies, or the expenses, or the beach photos. I just say. She left thinking she found better. I stayed and found peace. That's all they need to know. Because I don't owe the world my scars. I only owe myself the truth of what I endured and the pride of how I overcame it. So here I am, 39, divorced, rebuilding, and happier than I ever was in that marriage. Some people chase paradise while burning bridges behind them. Me? I've learned to build on solid ground. No more borrowed trust. No more forced smiles. No more fake forever. Just me, my dog, a skyline view, and the unshakable truth. I will never let someone write me out of my own story again. Not even for paradise.